Berserk's Griffith is one of the most fascinating characters that I've ever encountered. He is such a layered man, with so much to his personality that it sometimes boggles the mind. Griffith has a lot to him. He's the type of character that can be viewed from so many perspectives. If you suddenly interpret one of Griffith's lines of the manga in a different way than you had previously, it can completely change your opinion on his character. By far the most talked about aspect of Berserk as a series is Griffith's downward spiral and betrayal, fueled by his uniquely strong feelings for Guts, which were surprising coming from a man who generally doesn't form close relationships. Something that isn't made clear in the story, however, is the type of feelings that Griffith has towards Guts. Just to quickly address the nature of this question, it has been heavily debated for years about whether Griffith's intense and strong feelings for Guts were simply a brotherly or platonic affection versus something more along the lines of romantic love. It's an interesting question, and one that I don't have a straightforward answer to. I personally think that Miura intentionally made this aspect of Griffith vague and ambiguous. While the nature and specific essence of Griffith's feelings towards Guts aren't as relevant to the narrative of Berserk as the strength and consequence of those feelings, this is still an interesting subject to ponder. I think of these feelings as being on more of a spectrum than being mutually exclusive. I don't think that this relationship can be defined as strictly platonic or strictly romantic due to Griffith's complex ideologies regarding other people and relationships. I think that his feelings being classified as more of one of the two does not rule out the other. Having said that, if I had to classify these feelings on a platonic romantic spectrum, I personally believe that Griffith's affection is more platonic than romantic. I don't have any solid evidence to back this up. In fact, I think this way purely due to a lack of evidence for romance that I found when analyzing the narrative of Berserk. Although, I don't think you can necessarily rule out romantic affection, and Miura was very subtle with this aspect of Griffith's characterization, by not explicitly giving evidence for one side or another. I just couldn't find much evidence for a romantic nature in Griffith's feelings towards Guts. Throughout the story, Griffith shows plenty of attachment to Guts, and while he does value his assets as a soldier and his importance to the Band of the Hawk, his relationship with Guts clearly goes past that. He shows care for him. However, perhaps I need to view things from another perspective, but the special treatment he gave Guts felt like more of an exaggerated extension of his characterization than any romantic cues, subtle or otherwise. I cannot pinpoint many, if any, occasions in which the interactions between the two seemed explicitly romantic. There was the naked water fight early on, which certainly had some erotic subtext, but again, I think this was more of an extension of Griffith's characterization than any romantic inclination to Guts. I don't think that this water fight signified anything really, and Griffith certainly isn't the type of man to cover up because Guts had come by. The interaction was more likely a tactic from Griffith, to get Guts to come out of his shell and have a bit of fun, something that he does not get enough of. Now, there is a specific moment that I would like to draw some attention to: Griffith's forbidden night with Charlotte. During the sexual act, images of Guts subconsciously, or perhaps consciously, flash through and dominate Griffith's mind. Some may associate Griffith thinking about Guts during sex as him sexually desiring Guts. However, my thoughts are more to the contrary. I believe that these images were not due to any romantic or sexual thoughts, but instead based in Griffith's compensatory state of mind in the moment. After Guts had left, Griffith felt like he had lost control, lost a grip of his dream. He needed a way to feel powerful again, to regain a hold of his goal. Charlotte was the perfect outlet for this. By furthering his relationship with her, he would increase his chances of royal importance. Not only this, but the act of sex itself helped to make him feel in control again. However, Griffith's rattled psychology at this point made him short-sighted, and he made a grave error. The point here is that the only reasons he slept with Charlotte stemmed from Guts' actions. He may have been making love, but it was shallow and empty to him. He could not take his mind off of Guts, and he could not let go of how much he truly valued him and his contribution to his dream, and kept thinking that perhaps this act would help to further his dream and fill this newly opened hole in his heart. This is just my interpretation, but I believe that Griffith's thoughts of Guts during this night with Charlotte were born of something much different and much more than a simple sexual desire. We're never really given the full story with regards to the essence of Griffith's feelings on Guts. What I mean by that is that the narrative focuses on Griffith's internal struggles regarding him coming to grips with realizing that Guts is truly significant to him, and the subsequent impact that this had on his dream, but it tends to stick to that aspect of the relationship. Miura basically explores the strength of those feelings and how they pertain to Griffith's dream, but never the true nature of those feelings. As such, I find it hard to conclude that they were romantic. In the story, I don't think that Griffith pondered these feelings enough for us to really make a solid conclusion either way, and this makes it easier for me to lean towards a Platonic view. Now, while I do believe that Griffith's affections lean more towards Platonic than romantic, my true opinion of his feelings are that they are completely unique. There is a solid argument that could revolve around the claim that Griffith's feelings towards Guts are neither Platonic or romantic. For someone in Griffith's unique context in terms of psyche, it is entirely possible to develop feelings of strong care for someone that are indistinguishable. Griffith couldn't distinguish these emotions and didn't linger enough on the nature of them, but instead on their impact. Throughout his internal conflicts, Griffith never dwells on the specific nature of his feelings for Guts, perhaps because he didn't have the emotional capacity and intrapersonal understanding to do so. In my opinion, Guts was more important to Griffith than any other friend, sibling, or lover could have been. This is the first time that he had ever experienced anything remotely like this in his life, and this is the first time that anyone had had emotional power over Griffith. Being exposed to this for the first time meant that he was simply unable to identify these feelings. He felt weakened by his feelings towards Guts, but at the same time he simply could not imagine living without him. So he compensates for this by constantly reminding Guts that he belonged to him. This phrase, "you belong to me," it can be interpreted as either Platonic or romantic, whether it be sexual or not. However, I believe that this phrase meant neither Platonism nor Romanticism in the end. It was simply the words of a man who felt an attachment that he had never felt before, felt weak due to this attachment, and tried to compensate by asserting dominance. Guts leaving, the downward spiral, the eclipse and betrayal, this all cut short the development of these feelings of Griffith's. Griffith cared for Guts. As a brother? Possibly. As a lover? That's possible as well. But since Griffith is never able to identify these feelings, or further develop these feelings due to the structure of the story, the feelings never really manifest themselves in a way that would confirm or deny either romantic or Platonic love. And this is why I think that his feelings towards Guts throughout Berserk are entirely unique, neither Platonic or romantic. Anyways, these are just my thoughts on the subject. It is an extremely complex and interesting relationship that these two men share. The ambiguous nature of Griffith's emotional characterization, and the vague way that Miura covered the essence of Griffith's feelings, make this topic a subject of debate. Please feel free to leave your ideas about this relationship in the comments, as I'd love to hear some thoughts. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more anime and video game content.